back to my channel. So today we are going to be taking a deep dive into shadow work. I wanted to let you guys know what it is, how you can implement it into your life, and tips and tricks on how you can get started. So shadow work is the process of integrating your shadow self, or the parts of yourself that you have deemed unworthy or that you have deemed unacceptable to society standards, into your personality. What exactly is the shadow? The shadow is you. The shadow is the part of your personality, the part of your consciousness that you have rejected and you have tried to repress and or suppress. So the reason why shadow work is an important task that we should get started on as soon as possible is because when the shadow self is repressed or being suppressed, it can come out in pretty unpredictable and chaotic and toxic ways. The term shadow work was actually first coined by Carl Jung. I don't think I'm pronouncing his name correctly, but he was a Swiss psychiatrist, and he is the one who discovered, through the analysis of human psychology and the way the mind works, that all of us, every human on this earth, has a shadow or different shadows to their personality, different aspects of their personality that they do not want to connect with out of fear, fear of what people might say, or maybe, they feel like other people will judge them or be critical of them, but really it's just you being critical of yourself. Your shadow is not a bad thing. A lot of us, we think it's scary at first. We think our shadow is the side of us that's ugly, that's bad, that's evil, that's immoral, when really, in reality, the shadow self can be a huge help. And once you learn how to integrate it into your everyday life and into your personality and into your conscious mind, you will feel a lot more fulfilled and happy in life. Shadow work is a process, though. It's a lifelong process. It's not something that you can just do overnight or try to do for one day and then think that you're going to be cured or be successful at integrating your shadow into your personality. It's something that you have to work on. I mean, I don't want to really say it's a lifelong process, because it is possible to integrate your shadow into your personality very quickly, actually, like I did. I integrated my shadow into my personality after only doing shadow work for a couple of months, honestly. But I definitely feel successful because I no longer feel like I have defective parts of myself anymore. I no longer feel unworthy in certain areas. I no longer feel the need to try to hide from certain desires that I have, or certain wants that, or needs that I feel like I want to get fulfilled in my life. I no longer feel the need to run from who I really am. So yeah, back to Carl Jung. He coined the phrase, and he was basically saying that the shadow self has a way of coming out through your personality in a way that can be toxic. So if you don't integrate the shadow self into your personality, the shadow self can almost start to act like a little child who doesn't get attention from their parents. You know how kids are. When kids don't get attention from caregivers or their parents or people that take care of them, they will start to throw temper tantrums. They will start to act out in school and misbehave, because a lot of times when we do bad things to people, we get attention. Or a lot of times if we hurt ourselves or hurt other people, especially as kids learn that if they hurt themselves, mommy and daddy will come running to their rescue. Or if they hurt somebody else, mommy and daddy will give them attention by yelling at them and disciplining them, or whatever the case may be. So it's like your shadow self, when it's being suppressed, it's like a little child that needs nurturing, but because you are neglecting to nurture that side of yourself, it acts out. So different ways that your shadow self can showcase or rear its ugly head if you have it suppressed is it can come out in ways of projecting. So when people project their own insecurities onto you or project their own inner flaws onto you, things about themselves that they deem unacceptable or not worthy or disgusting or whatever, things that they're overly critical about themselves on, they will project it onto you. And that's just a sign that somebody has not done shadow work. They haven't integrated their shadow into their personality. And it can be very detrimental as well to relationships, having friendships, having romantic partners. You know, if you don't feel complete within yourself, you will become codependent onto other people. You will start to feel like other people owe you something in life, like they have to make you happy, when in reality you have to make yourself happy and you have to do what makes you happy. And a lot of times our shadow self has a lot of suppressed desires that are being neglected by us because we don't feel like those desires are acceptable. And the reason why most of us have, well, pretty much everybody has a shadow side that has been suppressed or repressed is because, you know, society has a lot of rules and regulations, and there's a lot of societal pressures to conform to the standard and how everybody else is. I'm here in the US, but I'm sure it's the same all across the globe in any country. A lot of people feel like if you are not like them or if you are different from them, a lot of people feel like, you know, it could be weird or they judge or they might feel uncomfortable. It doesn't matter what culture you are born into. It doesn't matter. Your society that you're born into, it has a certain standard. There's certain traditions and certain rules and laws of that country that most of us follow. And growing up as children and being disciplined by your parent or having maybe a narcissistic parent or a caregiver as a child could also lead to having a side of our personality that we have learned to suppress. You know, nobody comes out of their mother's womb hating themselves or feeling defective in any way. When we are born, we don't know what we're doing is wrong until somebody tells us something is wrong. When we're a little child, when we're a kid, we only know what we are taught. So it's not anybody's fault that they have a suppressed shadow. It's just something that happens because people aren't perfect. So our parents aren't perfect. So when our parents are raising us, oftentimes they could make mistakes that could lead to, you know, trauma sometimes within us, mental anguish and, you know, self-rejection or self-criticism. And it's not your parents' fault. They don't know any better. They probably have a suppressed or repressed shadow self that they don't know about, and they're just trying to go about life the best way they know how. So don't ever blame your parents or your caregivers or your childhood on having a problem in your life. Any type of problem that you have, you can't just blame it on other people. You just got to learn how to move forward from it, because actually having like a victim complex or feeling victimized all the time is actually another consequence of having a suppressed shadow. If you always feel like the world is out to get you, if you always feel like people hate you and they just do you so dirty all the time and they do you wrong and nobody loves you, it's probably a sign that you have a suppressed version of yourself that you have rejected. And because you've rejected that part of yourself, you feel like everybody else rejects you. Another symptom or sign of having a suppressed shadow self is the opposite of that actually. And that is having like a superiority complex. So some people might have like a savior complex or a superiority complex, or they might feel like they know it all or like they're better than you. Like, have you ever met somebody who's just always on a high horse, or they act like they just can do no wrong and you're always wrong, and they're always pointing out what you're doing, but in actuality they're doing a lot of dirt too and they ain't taking accountability for that? Yeah, that is a sign of having a suppressed shadow self. So what can we do about it? Well, I first found out about shadow work, like I said, back before 2018. I found out about it, and I never really started focusing on it until recently. I got serious about it recently, and I'm not gonna lie to you, it's not an easy process to go through. Doing shadow work intimidates a lot of people, and people tend to shy away from doing it because when you do shadow work, it can bring up a lot of harsh or hurtful feelings to the forefront. When you do shadow work, a lot of feelings that you've had suppressed and thoughts and emotions that you have had suppressed and been trying to lock away or push down below the surface, they will come up to the forefront, because doing shadow work requires you to dig deep. I'm talking deep within yourself, because what happens to the mind is when you have a suppressed part of your personality, it becomes something that is no longer conscious. It is no longer in your waking mind. So now that it's suppressed, it's in your subconscious mind. It's in your unconscious mind. So it's something that you are not even consciously aware of most of the time. Most people don't even know that they have a shadow self, or that they're suppressing it or rejecting it. Most people don't even realize how having a suppressed shadow self is actually bringing a lot of detriment and turmoil into their lives. Because like I said, if you have a suppressed shadow self, it can come out in many different ways. Another way that it can come out is another symptom, that your shadow self has been suppressed, is if you have a tendency to constantly be overly critical or overly judgmental of other people in a negative way. You do it on impulse, you do it without even thinking, because like I said, your shadow self is a part of your subconscious mind, so it's not something that you're consciously aware of. So if you're constantly judging other people on impulse and just out of nowhere for no reason, unbeknownst to anybody but you, it could be a sign that you have suppressed some things about yourself that you're trying to run away from. So yeah, like I said, some ways you can start integrating it into your life is by facing a lot of tough memories, a lot of tough emotions, a lot of tough feelings that you don't want to face. Because another symptom of having a suppressed shadow self is clinging on to addictions, or being an alcoholic, or having a drug abuse problem. A lot of times when people do drugs and alcohol, they're doing it to try to suppress something inside. They're trying to cover up something inside, or maybe they have like a low self-esteem because they feel like something's wrong with them. They feel like something's defective, so they drink and they do drugs. And it could also mean that certain feelings that you had as a child that caused you to have a suppressed shadow self, you just don't want to feel those feelings. Maybe something happened to you in your childhood and it was really traumatic, and you don't want to remember it. You don't want to face those feelings. You don't know how to get past those feelings, so you drink and you do drugs to try to get past it. But that is never the answer. The answer to that is digging deep within yourself. So back to what I was saying, some tips that you can use to get started is you can start journaling. So there are a lot of different journal prompts on the internet that have to do with addressing the shadow self. There are a lot of different prompts, and a lot of them are questions that you have to ask yourself. And in order to get to the root of the problem, you have to be willing to be honest with yourself. You have to be willing to be honest with yourself, because if not, nothing's gonna be resolved. You're gonna continue to struggle. You're gonna continue to act out in certain ways that you're later on gonna regret. And that is another symptom of having a suppressed shadow self. You will constantly be doing things that you will later on regret. You will be hurting other people. You will be hurting yourself. You will be saying stupid things or doing stupid things or acting out in stupid ways, and then later on regretting it. That is because, like I said, again, the shadow self is something that has now been pushed away and locked away in your subconscious mind, and you're not even aware of that part of yourself anymore, and you're not connected to who you really are. So when you do certain things that are not aligned with who you really are, you're going to regret them later on in life. You're going to feel bad about them later on in life, because that's not who you really are. And again, that's why people will lean on to drugs and alcohol for support or comfort or a way of escapism, because they don't know, and that's why I'm making this video today, because a lot of people are just unaware of what's going on in their lives. They know they need to change. They know something needs to give, and they just don't know what that thing is. They don't know what needs to be changed. They don't know what's wrong or why they're acting out in certain ways and regretting it later on. So yeah, some tips, like I said, do the journaling, type in shadow work journal prompts on Google, and I bet you hundreds and hundreds of prompts will come up. There will be articles with different journal prompts that you can look into. Eventually in the future, I'm gonna be posting some prompts here on YouTube for you guys to follow along with me and do as I journal and do my own shadow work. I'm gonna be posting videos so that you can all journal and do shadow work right along with me. We can do this together. Like I said, we are on a journey together. That's why I made this channel, so that we can build a spiritual community together. Another tip that you can use to get started doing shadow work is you can start listening to guided meditations for the sole purpose of doing shadow work. That's what I've been doing as well lately. I've been listening to guided meditations for shadow work, and it helps, it really, really helps. These guided meditations will help you visualize what your shadow self looks like to you. And I'll just give you a little taste of my story and what I've been through the process of doing shadow work. So when I first started getting serious about doing shadow work, when I came across my shadow self and I visualized her in my mind during deep meditation, she was a grotesque looking, almost demonic looking being that had handcuffs around her wrist, and she was chained, and she was sad, she was lonely, and I could tell that she had been isolated for a long time, and she didn't feel loved, she didn't feel cared for, she felt abandoned, and I was afraid of her. I thought she was evil. I thought something was wrong with her. I thought I had to cure her in order to get rid of her or to make her better somehow. So in the beginning, when I was doing my process of shadow work, I was doing it all wrong. I was trying to get rid of my shadow self again, even though I've already suppressed her. But even after facing her, I was trying to suppress her again because I still wasn't comfortable with certain parts of myself. But as I continued along my journey and I kept going into deep meditative states and revisiting my shadow self, eventually over time, my shadow self started to look more and more like me. She started to look more and more like me. She was no longer handcuffed. She was no longer chained and bound and locked away. And now, I've successfully integrated her into my personality. If I would have never successfully integrated her into my personality, I wouldn't even have the courage to be on here on YouTube today. I wouldn't even have the confidence to show my face on this camera and post this video for the world to see, because I wouldn't feel worthy. I wouldn't feel good enough. I would have been way too insecure to do it. But it is a journey. It is a process. But yes, definitely guided meditations on shadow work is definitely another trick that you can do, or that you can use to start getting the ball rolling. You know, it's the easiest way to start, honestly, because doing the journal prompts will definitely help as well. But it can be a lot more challenging to start off just doing journal prompts right away, because, you know, you're still not comfortable with yourself as much as you think you are. So another tip that you can use to start integrating the shadow self into yourself is just to notice when you judge other people, or notice things about other people that you don't like or that you're overly critical of, and ask yourself, why? Why do I not like these things about this person? Why does it bother me? Why am I being triggered? You know, as you go throughout your day, you can just start developing a higher sense of awareness of certain things that you say or do that could be toxic, and start asking yourself why. You don't even have to journal. You don't even have to do guided meditations. You could start doing this all on your own. But the reason why I suggest doing guided meditations first before anything else is because it can help you just get a sense of where to start, because the process is not always easy, but it's definitely possible. And I feel like everybody should try to do it, especially if they want to have better relationships with people and feel more connected to others. Because what can happen is, if you're not fully being who you are or being your authentic self, you will feel a disconnect from those around you, including family members, friends, co-workers, everybody. You will feel a disconnect, because how can somebody who is not really being themselves ever truly connect to those around them? How? How would that be possible? It's not possible. If you're living a fake life, or putting on some fake persona or fake facade just to try to impress other people and gain their acceptance, you're never going to truly connect to others. You're always going to feel lonely and isolated, or like others don't understand you. So that's why it's important to do this. If we don't successfully integrate our shadow self into our personality, it can lead to a lot of unfulfillment in life as well. The shadow self holds on to a lot of desires that we want deep within ourselves that we might be rejecting. For example, a desire that I had, that I found out that my shadow self had, was she was desiring control. She was desiring control. She didn't want any type of authoritative figure above her or controlling her in any way. She wanted to be the master and controller of her own life. She's a free spirit. And when I say she, I'm talking about my shadow self, but really I'm talking about me, because she's a part of me. So in reality, I pushed away the part of myself that was seeking control, because I felt like, wow, if you're a controlling person, you suck. You know, you shouldn't be a controlling person. And I felt like if you don't like authority, well, you suck, because authority is all around. You know, there's police officers, there's teachers that we went to school with growing up that we were taught and told that we had to respect, you know. So I felt like if I didn't like authority, or if I didn't like authoritative figures, that I was a bad person. I was not conforming. I was not going with the status quo. So therefore I must be defective in some way. But now that I've successfully integrated that part into myself, now I feel at ease. I feel good about who I am. And I know that I can use this desire that I have for good. I can use it to help myself to have a better, more fulfilling life, because now that I feel like I can have control, now that I've given myself permission to actually fully have control over my own life, I feel like a free spirit now. I feel free. I feel free. I've learned I don't have to control other people, because when I was suppressing my shadow self, like I said, it came out in a negative, nasty, ugly, toxic way. Because I wasn't in full control of my life, I was moving through my shadow self. So my shadow self, she wanted control. So if she couldn't control herself, she was going to try to control other people. And that's not good. I was going around controlling my ex-boyfriends. I had a lot of ex-boyfriends that I dated that I wanted them to do what I told them to do. I wanted to be the boss in the relationship. I wanted them to bow down to me. And if they didn't bow down to me, I was sayonara, gone. And that is toxicity at its finest. But now that I'm aware that that's truly what I want, now that I'm conscious and aware of that, I no longer feel the need to try to control other people, because now I can be fully control of my own life, you know? And part of how I'm in control of my own life now is by starting this YouTube channel, starting an online business, you know? No longer working for somebody or working at a 9-to-5 that makes me sick, that is not helping me in any way, shape, or form. Now that I quit my job and I started an online business, I feel like I have more control over my life and my desires and what I really want. And so, like I said, if you do not integrate your shadow self into your conscious mind, it can come out in ways that are detrimental, and you don't want that. You really don't want that. You want to have a fulfilling life. You don't want to be codependent on others, seeking happiness or love or acceptance or friendship and things like that, community from other people. You need to be your own best friend. You need to build a community and a support system within yourself, because if you don't support who you really are, how do you expect other people to want to support you? You know, and that's essentially what you're doing when you're suppressing your shadow self. You're not in support of who you really are. You're not nurturing that side of you. You're not giving that side of yourself love. Instead, you're judging that side of yourself, and you're saying that, hey, that side of yourself is unlovable. It doesn't deserve support. It doesn't deserve to be celebrated. And that couldn't be farther from the truth, because we all deserve to be celebrated. So I hope this video helped. I know I was kind of jumping from topic to topic to topic. I didn't write any notes down for this video, so it's a bit unorganized, but I thank you guys for watching anyways. If you did enjoy this video, if you learned something from it, or if it motivated you to start doing shadow work, please comment down below. Or if you've already started implementing shadow work into your life and you've already started the process, please share down below your experiences with it. I would love to hear. And give this video a thumbs up, and make sure you subscribe, and feel free to share my video with anybody else that you think needs to see this. So until next time, my friends, stay wonderfully divine.